always recommend running an up-to-date version of Google Chrome when using Blackboard and Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. Well, thanks for joining us for episode 4 of Training Talks. Today, our special guest is Kindra McMillan. She's an administrator in the School of Criminal Justice. She's also the placement coordinator and a part-time faculty member. And we're going to talk to Kindra about her experience teaching both on-site and online, and maybe some adjustments that she's had to make in order to move to the online environment.
We're also going to talk to Kindra about the Criminal Justice Community Hub, a place where students gather and in an online realm and connect with each other and their faculty. And then we're going to talk training. We're going to talk about Blackboard Collaborate. We're going to talk about Pools and Breakout rooms. And we're going to talk about test building using the Blackboard canvas for tests. Thanks for joining us. We're really excited to offer this week. Make sure you like and subscribe to our videos. You can click the buttons below. And enjoy.
Thank you.
Welcome, everyone. We have Kindra McMillan joining us today. She's the administrator for the Criminal Justice Program, placement coordinator, and part-time faculty. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Kindra, we understand that you've taught both in the on-site as well as the online environments at Nipissing. And I'm just curious if you can share with us some examples of maybe any challenges you faced when you moved from an on-site offering to online, or maybe not so much the challenges, but just how you adjusted to that type of scenario.
For sure. So people who teach in a classroom know that there's different ways you can engage with your students. You get to know them not only by their faces, but you have the ability to have conversations that maybe are a little bit harder to facilitate through an online platform. So moving online, there was definitely an adjustment of, getting to know my students really well versus them just being a name in a list sometimes. So I think after my first year of doing the online learning, I started thinking of ways of not only how I could engage with them, but how they could engage with each other, because they build relationships within a classroom as well, and those relationships are important in their learning journey. So, Rob and I had many discussions about what Blackboard could do for me and for the students in an online learning environment. So building things like discussions where they have to post and be graded on some sort of academic work, but that the fellow classmates had to, respond to that in a way that that was not only, facilitating the academic part, but facilitating the social part as well. And then even just as simple as doing an introduction video. So before, there was a Collaborate option, which is lovely, and I love it now in an online learning environment. But I used to just make a YouTube video going through my syllabus as if I was talking face to face with them, and post that within the shell, so that I wasn't just a name on a screen. I was a person that they could put a face to, which helps, them be more comfortable in emailing me and asking questions, because I was a person. I wasn't just, an online facilitator. So those have been really helpful.
Yeah, I think what you touched on in terms of creating a video is very interesting, and I think that really helps, especially because you're doing it near the start of the semester. It really helps the students connect and allow them to understand that there, like you said, there is a face behind the Blackboard kind of thing, and you are a real person. You're not just there as your computer behind the scenes. So that's really, really interesting. I think that's a great idea, and hopefully some folks can pick up on that this coming semester.
Well, and now with Collaborate, you can take it a step further. So while we do not need to require students to be in a certain space at a certain time, they can have the option to do that. So this semester for my online course, I was able to hold a Collaborate session where students could join in if they wanted to, with no pressure to have to at that time, because I was able to record it and post it later. All the students knew that the session was being recorded, and that even if they missed something, they could go back and watch it later. So it served the same purpose, but it also allowed students who enjoy that face-to-face and being able to be in real time, it gave both people the option to do what they needed depending on their work schedule or whatever was on in their life at that time.
Absolutely. And the beauty of Collaborate too is the ability to create the recording right within Blackboard. You can share the link in your shell to that recording, and the students don't even have to leave the environment. They don't have to even go to YouTube to view the video. It's right there for them, and it's just much easier and more accessible.
Exactly.
What's a good way that you've come up with to get to know students off the hop and make sure that not only do they kind of have a feeling of who you are, but also maybe some of the other students in the course as well?
For sure. So I had mentioned earlier too that like I make them engage with each other in kind of an academic or like in their writing. But this semester, especially going into the fall, I was like, okay, so they're engaging with each other, but half of them don't know who each other are. So in, using resources and kind of expanding my knowledge on how to make this the best possible, a lot of suggestions are like icebreakers or having them engage with each other, but not course related. So a kind of a get to know you. So recently posted a discussion where they just had to answer 4 questions, simple questions, fun questions. They can include pictures in their post or, a fun fact or a hobby or like whatever. And what has come back has been really great. So now moving on to our next discussion that's being graded, they will actually know the person to some extent on the other side, which adds another element and a layer of feeling connected in this time where it's really easy to not feel connected. And it's been great. It's been fun for me to read them as the instructor, like, and responding to each one and making sure that they know I've read it. I'm not just, like checking off that they've done it. I'm actually responding that like, hey, like that's super cool that, you go trekking in Algonquin Park every summer. Like, I love it. Thanks for sharing a picture. So it's added a new element for me that I have never done before that I'm excited about, and I'm excited to expand on that and move it forward into the fall as well.
Yeah, it not only gives the students a sense that you're real and that the other students in the course are real, but like you alluded to, like, it's great for you to have a sense of who the students are as people. They're not just a number. They are one student at a time. And it's good for you to have a view into their lives as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, it sounds like you're having fun and they're having fun. And then that's one of like the big new things is that gamification into course and like basically making learning fun and really getting your students on board with that.
Yeah. And the engagement is a whole other level too, which I've heard some talking about. Well, there's going to be more emails and there's going to be more. Okay, yeah, but now you're not like if you want to quantify your time, now you're not spending 30 minutes after class talking to a student. It's taking you 5 minutes to respond to them in an email if you really want to like weigh it out. And your responsiveness in that email will make that student feel so much more value in their online learning experience if you take the time and do it fairly quickly, because that's the only way they have access to you in a lot of ways. So kind of taking out I have to answer so many emails and realizing, no, this is a good thing. This is a good thing that I'm able to do this quickly, responsively, and it's beneficial for everybody.
So a few years back, we had a brief conversation about hubs and how you could use hub space to kind of get some student engagement in your program, give a central space online. How's that been working out for you?
It's been fantastic having a central place for me to put information on our bridging program, information on application processes. This MA in sociology is very connected to our program. So what does that look like for students and where is that information? To have a place for them to go right within Blackboard, which hopefully they are engaging with every day already, to go and access that information. And for me to be able to send out information. So no longer having to, access other people in other departments to be able to send out emails to students with information. I'm able to do that all from this central place, and engage them and collect information. If I'm doing an application, I can put my Google form right within the shell and have everything in a one-stop shop. Has been a game changer for me as someone who's trying to coordinate all of these different pieces within one program of over 300 students.
pretty helpful.
Yeah.
I was just going to add that it'd be nice too when you do something in Blackboard, you have the ability to send an announcement to let everyone who's enrolled in that shell know that there's been something added, something's been changed. You know, that's a nice feature as well, because it saves you a lot of time reaching out to individuals. You know.
Definitely.
So I know we talked about how it works well for you, but I know there's been some development in the hub over the time for that like the students have wanted to see. I recall something about a pin test.
Yeah, so the students are always coming up with great ideas, you know, to be more engaged or to help fellow students. So one of the things that they had come up with for students wanting to be police officers was to create a fitness group where students could, you know, get together, run, try to like make sure that they can meet all the qualifications for their applications when they're done. So that was a central place where they could post the times. They did their sign-up sheet through there to see who was interested, and they were able to push out information that way by students subscribing to the threads within the discussion, which was a helpful tool for them as well.
That's awesome.
Great.
And I think we talked a little bit recently about what you kind of would like to see happen in the hub coming this fall, with losing out on that face-to-face experience for that semester.
Yeah.
Touch a little bit on.
So, you know, one of the things that we do as a department and as, you know, our student groups is they engage their fellow students in different capacities, whether it be, you know, lectures or guest speakers or recruitment presentations or even just social events. So we're in the stage now where we're trying to reimagine what that's going to look like for the fall in a virtual setting. So, you know, holding our meet and greet at the beginning of the year virtually, having a place, discussion threads where if students have questions about different things that they can actually go in and, you know, build off a same thread, or see that a question has already been asked and maybe their answer is already sitting there, a place that they can go and, you know, engage with each other, but then engage with the department as well, so that they don't feel disconnected. And, you know, that's still kind of growing, and our imaginations are growing in terms of what that can look like. Social media will be a big part of that. And Rob, you mentioned that we can actually integrate, you know, our most recent feeds into the shell potentially as well, which will be a great way to kind of bring everything together, so that those who are maybe not using Blackboard, you know, everybody's getting all the information they need, but it's centrally held within that hub, which is super important. And the more we use it, the more it'll just drive students there, which is an important piece too, right? Like if you don't engage with them, they're not going to engage with you. So the more that we can do to keep pushing them to where we want them to be, they will get there. They will come.
Yeah, I think that's important. I mean, everyone I think is scared of technology on the first go round. So the more that we use it, the more that we see it, the more comfortable we get, and then the better the experience going forward and everything. I think it really rings true to that one student at a time that we have for Nipissing, right? Like that connection. I think your hub's gonna really do that for you for the fall.
I hope so. It's the plan.
Yeah, I feel. I feel as though there's been a lot of hesitancy moving forward into the online world, but people are going to have to adjust, I think, at this time. And I think I've mentioned this in previous episodes. I feel that moving forward, this is only going to make things better for everyone. Giving everyone, or I guess forcing everyone to experience the online environment and what it's like to teach in an online environment, I think is going to benefit a lot of professors. Allow them to develop new methods to deliver their content, and hopefully this is a good thing. I think it will be for the future of online learning for sure.
I agree completely.
Yeah, we're really hopeful that after this is all over, that you know, maybe not all the courses that the university offers are online, but there's parts of what we take away or that we all learn from this experience that come back into your face-to-face environment. So that, you know, maybe it's bringing in the guest speakers, right? That you can do that at any time, bring in some pre-recordings and that sort of thing, or maybe it's just using assignments or Dropboxes. there's all kinds of different things that can enhance that face-to-face experience.
Office hours over Collaborate, even though it's an online course, right? Because sometimes it's hard if students, like we have students who are parents who are working. So how much easier for them is it to log in and ask a question than it is to get to your office? So, there's lots of little pieces that could be super helpful, and we could integrate them together as we move hopefully back into the classroom at some point. Yeah.
Well, that's great. We really appreciate your insight and your point of view on all these topics, and thank you for taking the time to join us today. This has been a very valuable conversation, and hopefully folks can take away that the online world isn't that scary. There's obviously some adjustments that are going to need to be made, but that's what folks like Rob and I are here to help with, and hopefully we can make that transition just that much easier and less stressful for some folks.
And thank you. And as someone who accesses your services often, thank you for how much support that you provide and how easy you make the process. Use these guys. They're really great.
Thanks, Kindra.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Kindra. Today we wanted to talk about polling in your Collaborate session. So to start polling, open your Collaborate panel, then go to the secondary content and polling. There are two choices for polling. There's multiple choice and yes and no. We'll start with the yes and no. So selecting yes and no, type in the question you'd like to ask your students. Once you have your question typed, click Start. It will be distributed to your students. As your students respond, you'll notice here on the participants panel, you'll notice that what their response is will light up, as well as in the response area down here. This information on the participants panel is only available to the instructor. So as you can see, everyone's responded. All three of the participants have responded. And you can see their responses. You can see the responses here as well. And then you can choose to display these responses to the class by clicking Show Responses. And you hit Stop End to end polling. To do a multiple choice poll, we do the same idea. Go into the polling, multiple choice, type in your question. So you type in your question. If you need more than 2 response areas, simply just click Add Choice. And we can start that up. You'll note that I did not type in any responses. I left that up to the system to just generate numbers. So as my question refers to, what is the correct answer to the PowerPoint? In my PowerPoint slide, I could have left 5 different options on the screen. So as the students select their responses, again, you'll see the responses come through. And then you can choose to show again to the students, and then stop when you're done. So as you can see, polling is a great way to get a real-time interaction with your students. Let's talk about breakout rooms. So occasionally when you're working in your class, you might want to give the students some time to go into their groups and work on a project. So to do that, we'll do that through the breakout rooms. So we'll click the Open Collaborate panel, and we'll go to Breakout Groups. So that at the top of the page, we'll decide how we want to assign students to the groups. We can custom assign them, where you will drag them and place them into the group of your choice. Or we can do random, so it depends on how you'd like to do this. To start off with, I'll just do custom. Okay. And we can give the students the choice to allow them to switch groups or not. If we allow them to switch groups, they'll be able to do that on their own free will. If we leave it unchecked, they will not be able to. So once we put them into a group, that's the group they will stay until we actually move them as the instructor. So right now you can see there's group 1 and there's group 2. We can add more groups by just clicking the plus icon below them. So I'm just going to drag Chip down into group 1. I'm going to put Dale in there as well, because I know they work to get well together. And we'll put Tommy over here in group 2. And then this is my avatar, so I will move him on. And since Tommy's all alone, we'll start the conversation off with there. And then as maybe as more students join into the class, then we can add them in here to the group of Tommy. Or we can, if more students join, we can add them to group 3 and so on. And then we'll hit start. And there we go. Now I'm in group 2. And here I am. There I am. I'm in group 2 with Tommy. So while we're in the group, we have all of the tools that we normally have available in the other rooms. We can share a whiteboard, we can share an application screen, we can share files. So we can facilitate anything that we need to do in this group. And I want to go check on and see how Chip and Dale are doing. So I'm just gonna click back to the breakout groups menu, and I'm gonna drag myself back to group 1 and say update. And I'm moving to group 1. So now, as you can see, I'm in the group with Chip and Dale. When we're done with the breakout group time, we simply hit the stop button to end the breakout groups and bring everyone back into the main room. And there we go. Everyone is now reconnected.
So I'm going to get you to scroll down on the left-hand pane under Course Management here in Course Tools. Expand the Course Tools menu and you'll see Test Surveys and Pools. Now, like I said, this is where all the tests, surveys, and pools of questions that you've either created or uploaded to your shell are stored. Today we're going to go into tests. You'll see a number of items in here that I've loaded to this shell. It's also interesting to note that at this screen, it tells you where these items are deployed within your course shell. So the tests and quizzes menu on the left-hand side houses these 3 items currently. And next, click on Build Test. Now this is where you name your tests, provide a description, and include any instructions that you'd like the students to see. So I'm going to create midterm test number 2. Description, second midterm. And like I said, this is where you can include any instructions or details about the test that you'd like the students to see. Then simply click Submit. You can build a test in Blackboard using many different question types. And today I wanted to focus on a couple that are maybe lesser known or lesser used. The first one being a fill-in-the-blank question. First and foremost, hover over question types and select fill-in-the-blank. And I have a question already created here, so I'm going to copy and paste that into here. And that question is, recently Nipissing celebrated its blank anniversary. Scroll down a little bit further and you have the answers. So this is where you put the possible answers. And so I'm going to put in both of those, and I'm going to change the answer so it doesn't have to be exact. It can just contain those letters. I'm not going to worry about case sensitivity because for the most part this answer is numerical. You can also provide feedback to the students whether they get the answer correct or incorrect. You can categorize the questions so that when you're building a test out of a pool, you can build them based on categories and keywords. And you can also leave instructor notes at the bottom that only the instructor can see. So I've created this question and I click Submit at the bottom and we're done. As you can see, the question has been created and the answers are here. The next one I wanted to touch on is called Hotspot question. Now this is used when you want the students to identify a certain spot on an image. So again, I have a question created here. I'm just going to copy and paste that in. So approximately where in Canada is North Bay located? So I'm also going to include a picture, a map of Canada, an untitled map of Canada. So I've loaded that, and so now what I need to do is identify the coordinates of where the answer is going to be. So basically, I'm just going to pick roughly right around here, and you drag and drop your mouse, and that's it. So as long as the student clicks within that box there, they will get the answer correct. Now again, you can provide correct or incorrect response feedback for the students, categorize the questions, or leave instructor notes. But there we have it. Now I've created a hotspot question, and I'm 2 questions into what's going to be a very exciting test. always recommend running an up-to-date version of Google Chrome when using Blackboard and Blackboard Collaborate Ultra.